Thank you, Amy, for recounting the importance of community. Now, we will have our first external speaker, Mr. Trolin, who will discuss the power of AI and how it enhances the ideas of semi-autonomous vehicles from a mere thought to a living reality.
That sounds horribly technical, so I'll try not to be technical, but still try to convey some details of how cars are, with the help of AI, going from rule-based, machine-like, like AI me, and the story we just listened to, great story by the way, to something more human. There are some traps along this journey. I'll try to highlight those. Alex is Trolin. I spent almost 30 years in the automotive industry, 12, 13 years here in China in different roles, from the north in Shenyang down to Shanghai here. Why am I here? Well, I spent the last 3-4 years working, setting up a company named Horizon as a CEO and founder. As part of Volkswagen Group, we're delivering systems here to Volkswagen and Jetta and many other Volkswagen Group brands. This year we're launching these products, so it's something that's pretty much hot in the market right now. Again, why are we talking about this? This could be any one of you waking up late in the morning, need to be here, need to go to sports, late for the airport. You may have things to do. You may not have a driver's license, so you want to be driven, and you want the car to go from A to B as fast as possible. Well, we can do that. Part of it, we can do it with a taxi, but you know taxis. We can go with a typical DD ride. In Wuhan, in Phoenix, and some of the other cities, we can actually use a Baidu car, which is driving pretty much autonomously. And stateside in the US, you can go with a Tesla, which also has no driver, and it works pretty well. But every now and then you get to read these headlines of cars, not just one, but all of them, stop for some reason, for some back-end error, some software problem. Whereas it's a funny headliner to read, it can actually cause some serious incidents, even lethal ones. I'll come back to that in a minute. So this is the way you want to have the car. Actually, you walk in, you give them a target, this is where I want to go. You don't want to be too engaged in the driving assignment, and we're getting there pretty soon, but there are a couple of kinks. So what are we talking about? AI, we use AI pretty much every day, most of us. We have the excellent Chinese AIs, we have the US stateside ones, and they are now entering into the cars and the backend systems supporting the cars as well. So in order to understand better what it used to be, let's look on the left side here. It's called ADAS, the systems that you would find in a car. If you buy a car 15 years old or 10 years old, you will probably find an ADAS system in there. How are those systems built? Well, it was built in a fragmented way. You had separate ECUs, control units, small computers connected with wires. They had their separate software. They were working fine for their isolated purpose. But once the features were getting more and more complex, you could have up to, in a modern car, if it's not a Chinese architecture, which by now is benchmark, but you can have up to 70, 80, or 90 different ECUs, all with their own operating system, with their own applications, interfacing with other ECUs or computers or sensors. And most of these systems typically are supplied by different suppliers. So you can have, if you have 70 ECUs in a car, a large luxury car, you can have 50 or 60 ECUs. And imagine sitting there, integrating them, updating them, because they're computers, you need to update them. Pretty much you do the way you update your handset, your mobile phone, your iPad, or your computer. And you need to update these ECUs in the car as well and make sure they work together at the same time while driving and not causing a catastrophic failure. So this is what it used to be like, and most OEMs got pretty good in doing just that, sourcing those things. But it didn't really behave like a human being. And the cost of testing and validating these systems, once you have one system updated or a couple of those, you still need to validate all of it at the same time to see if it performs the way you want it. Now, contrast this with the AI. It works more like a human being, actually. So it starts off like a kid coming here to TEDxSHSID. You have excellent teachers around, you have plenty of material, the surrounding is there, but you need to train over and over and over. This is pretty much how you do it. How do you do it with these algorithms? Well, before you put these systems in your car, you have them watch videos. Literally millions, 7, 10, 15 million videos or pictures of a situation or a route being driven. And not just one picture looking at like you and I would do if we're driving the car, but one camera here and multiple cameras on the side, so in total typically 11 sensors, and a LiDAR, typically one on top looking in front of you, which gives you a very high resolution of the artifacts in front of you. You can argue, well, camera is just good enough. Tesla has famously rejected using LiDARs, but every now and then, in bad weather, heavy rain, snow, where everything is white, sky is white, the road is white, everything around you is white, and it's snowing on top of it, then using a LiDAR can be a lifesaver. And not just include the artifacts that you don't see, but it improves the service of your vehicle. So the system is trained over and over on these data sets. And once you're confident, or trained means you have a trainer, which is a human being. This is what we're saying. A human being still supervises this training and says, well, this time you got this one wrong, so you correct it. Do inference, it's called. So you correct the system, have it do another ride, or 1,000 rides again, and when you're confident that it starts behaving the right way, then you put it into a car and you start driving with it, with the driver inside to supervise it. And once you're really confident, you can still say, okay, let's do the tests mandated by the government in Beijing, in this case, or stateside by the authorities. And then you can have it be certified, and then you move forward, and then you can have real persons drive it. Now, learns from millions of real drives. Once this car is out there, typically, I'm not talking only about the fully autonomous cars, but a car that you can still go buy today from Huawei or even Volkswagen nowadays or Tesla. It learns by the driver driving the car every day. So it observes how you are driving, it sends it back to the backend system, adds this to the database, which is growing every day exponentially, of course, with every person driving a kilometer an hour, and then it learns. But you can also see what that means. Do you think a car driving in Austin, Texas, or in Munich in Germany, or in Shanghai, or Beijing, or Xinjiang, do you think they behave the same way? Hands up. Do you think they behave the same way? I only see shaking heads, and you're absolutely right. They behave completely different. If they were trained by drivers, you would notice in China what? If I do a left turn, I don't know if some of you don't have a driver's license, but you know this behavior. You have a left turn, the traffic light turns green. The left-hand drivers, they typically turn off and go in front of the traffic coming in front of you. How do you think a Huawei car behaves, or a Horizon car that I worked on myself? How do you think? Just like that, like a person. Why is that? Well, it was trained by looking at other Chinese drivers. And the cars approaching you from the other side, they expect the car to drive this way. No surprise there, right? And this is only possible because we're using something called end-to-end AI. Watching all of this, recorded driving, recorded situations, scenery, with snow, without snow, with rain, day and night, summer, winter, jungle in Shishabana or whatever it may have been, and then learning how to do this. And this, a car with a rule-based system could never behave this way, right? So that's a very important distinction. It grows exponentially now, very, very fast, but there are a couple of things you want to look at. So let's repeat. What is an end-to-end AI? Most of you, again, you are using the systems. You may not call it LLM, or a large language model. If you use Doubao or ChatGPT, this is what it is. It's been learned, it's trained by large amounts of data, typically written data or audio data. Now, you have something that has been around for a while, but this is heavily used now in not just entertainment. If you want to make a video by Grok, for example, also here in the car industry, because the visual models, all these scenes, all this data that I pointed out earlier is used to train. So that's the LVM, and if you combine the two of them, that's when you have the end-to-end system. The end-to-end system that you don't go in the middle, start changing things, you train it, and eventually it behaves correctly. If not, you need to go back and correct it, tell this and this and this behavior is not desired, it's wrong, and then it behaves the correct way. Now, we're still talking about a system. So you have the input part, you have the neural network. This is trained offline, by the way. So you have a backend server, you train the system, then you compile a version that you install in the car, and the car can drive without talking to the cloud. That's an important distinction there. It can actually drive without talking to the cloud. And then it gives signals to your car. Does go left and right, brake, accelerate, where's the target, where do I need to end up at the end of the day. So all of this happens locally in the car. I'd like to give you an example. There are many more systems around, not just in China, but everywhere actually. But I need to mention these because they are actually quite important. So I'll start. I need to start with the Huawei ADS 4.1. Why is this important? Well, it's an interesting trend to see Huawei. Some of you have a Huawei telephone or a laptop. They managed to take the technology that they use in their consumer electronics and large corporate IT, deploy it with software in their systems, in the cars, and they've done a marvelous job. A marvelous job. These cars, you can go out and you can buy them. They take you literally from your parking lot at home to the parking lot and the basement of your company. So this is autonomous driving. You're still in the car, you're sitting in the front, but this is very, very, very close to a self-driving car that you wouldn't need to drive. Horizon, company I started myself, we have a similar system by now. It's a different price segment. We'll come back to this later. Huawei is typically pricey. Horizon, we want to target the mass market, make it affordable for everyone. So it has similar characteristics, similar performance, using one lidar, not three, as the Huawei system. Tesla, famously, the FSD13 is the latest version. As you can see on the video, it drives really nice on a day like that, no doubt. If you start driving this car maybe in Montana, in the north, in the winter, stateside, the US, in a snowstorm, it won't behave like this because you are actually missing the LiDAR. So it will have less performance. But this very nice day, it drives really, really beautifully. On the right side is Waymo. You cannot buy the Waymo system in a private car, but it's a commercially operated taxi, and it works quite well. Every now and then you've seen famously in San Francisco, they clogged up the street. For some reason, there was a problem with their algorithm, so it's still software. It can still go wrong, but fortunately, so far, no lethal accidents with the commercial service of Waymo. So a couple of acronyms here, just mentioning this. When you have a car that takes you from A to B, but it doesn't go up on the elevated highway on its own, go down, go through a complicated intersection, take you down to the B2 parking lot, that's when you're talking level 2. So it's a basic system, it's good enough for taking you on the elevated, but it doesn't handle the complex situations. Level 3 or 4, this is what you're looking at upstairs on those two examples, potentially on the left side as well. Why is it important? Well, the legislature, the state in the US and also here in China and Europe, they're very picky with these acronyms, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. Full autonomy would be level 4 or 5, where you have no driver in the car and it actually comes, picks you up and takes you somewhere. The key behind this is not so much the technology. It's moving very fast, but it's about responsibility. If this vehicle has an accident, whether you're sitting in it in the driver's seat, or you're just in the back seat. Who's responsible if you have an accident? Is it the manufacturer, in this case a Volkswagen or Maxtro or another brand using this technology? Is it Tesla, or is it you? You didn't drive, but you were in the car, so you're still responsible. So this is the key distinction that's still not solved, by the way. So the good side, the human side. We talked about humans. What's the flip side here? Quality of life. Quality of life for you as a person and your loved ones. So nobody wants to have an accident. People are driving cars. People make mistakes sometimes. So 90%, in fact, are caused by human beings. And that's painful. So anything we can do to reduce that rate down from 90%, or the total amount of accidents, of course it's worthwhile. We should invest money in that, and that's worthwhile if you're making a biased choice. Interesting point here is one car, autonomously driven, by the way, and then all the other cars are human beings driven. It's an improvement because it can pick up things that you miss. But once you have saturation, you have more cars. So the other cars around you are also autonomous. That's when you will see a very steep increase in safety, because these cars are then behaving, most of them, in a predictable manner, and that's going to increase the safety overall. So I think the further we move forward, the better it's going to be. Freedom for all. Well, I think about abo, grandma, grandpa, if they want to go somewhere, they cannot drive, or they don't want to drive anymore because they're old, or our kids want to go somewhere, or you don't have a driver's license, you want to go somewhere with your friends or alone. It's a perfect choice if you can have a self-driving car, no doubt. Less stress. Well, this is most of you parents in here. We want to go somewhere, we need to do something, we have a phone call, we need to do a call or send an email, or we have to support homework being done in the back seat of the car. Well, that's perfect. If we can have the car drive for me, that would be good, isn't it? And then for the young ones here in the room, do you need a license in 5 years, in 2 years, in 10 years? I don't know. You may still want to drive the car. I enjoy it for sure. But there may be a young generation that don't want to drive anymore. Hard to conceive today, but who knows? Right? So let's see. There are some downsides, by the way. Hallucination. I think every one of you who used ChatGPT or Doban, you ask them a question and the answer doesn't make sense, right? Or you have two different ones, same question in two separate LLMs, and they give you different answers. You don't want this to happen in the car, but it actually does every now and then. It's the perception question. What am I seeing? Is it a human being, an e-bike, or beer, or animal coming up somewhere? So that it can still make mistakes. Less and less the more training they have. Extreme weather, I mentioned, if you don't have a LiDAR, the perception, what you actually see, can be impaired. The responsibility gap I mentioned before, it's still not solved. I think China has had a very, let's say, conservative but cautious way of moving forward. So for now, it's the driver owning the car that takes the responsibility. Moving forward, we may see changes there. German OEMs, by the way, I've worked for them many years, very afraid of this topic. They don't want to have this responsibility, so they are even holding back some of the technology. I don't think that's the right way to go, to be honest. Job displacement, this is something we hear a lot. What about the DD drivers or truck drivers or bus drivers and things like that? It's an argument in the near term, potentially, but I do think that it makes their drive safer as well if it's a combined system, so safe for him, safe for us as passengers. Moving forward, I think there will be jobs in the mobility sector, but maybe different ones, more worthy ones with better pay potentially for these persons. So I'm not so sure that's a bad effect midterm, long term. Security and privacy, I think it's always a concern. There's a lot of data being generated, but even a car, if you have a connected car on your way, it drives you or not, it doesn't matter. It collects a lot of data about you. your music taste, where are you going, what are you saying in your car. So I don't think that's a new topic. It's a topic we need to address, no doubt, but I don't think it's a reason not to use end-to-end systems for mobility. So where are we going? I think this picture is probably a little bit conservative. If I am in China, if I'm talking about Germany or the US or South America, maybe even slower than this, but if I look at China today, you have level 2 plus plus or level 3 systems on the street today. You can go buy it, anyone here in the world. And they're getting inexpensive, really quick. I know we are shipping systems for cars around 200,000 renminbi. There will be amazing technologies available for 110,000, 120,000 later this year that can do pretty much what I showed you before. So you have a price regression coming really, really fast. And if you're talking fully autonomous without a driver, well, yes, it's available in China. It's available in Wuhan, stateside, in multiple cities. But I think the question at the bottom is also related to fairness. It says fairness. What do I mean by that? Who can afford to use this technology? Right? So I think in China we have a very unique development going on because this technology is trickling down to all vehicle segments, not just luxury cars, but inexpensive cars for around 100,000 renminbi. And it takes you with level 2 plus plus or level 3. And this is, if you ask me, I've done this for 30 years, this is amazing to see. And this is what I think is the right way. You give this technology to everyone into inexpensive cars, and it's going to propagate through the market very quickly. And very quickly you will also see level 4 and 5 cars being available inexpensively, completely without a driver, if that's what you want. So I think China is a different picture, but this is, let me say, a mix of China and the US and a little bit of Europe. 28, probably level 3, at least from a legal point of view, will be standard in premium cars in China earlier, I'm sure. And then 30 to 35, it feels like really a long time before we're there. I think in China that's going to happen before that most cars can actually drive themselves, with or without a driver. Maybe not so important question, but it will be possible. And I think the price question, as I mentioned, in China, it's going to be affordable. High quality, affordable, readily available for many, many persons. Also grandma and grandpa and some of you that don't want to have a license. So I'm running out of time, so I'll speed it up. Thank you for the information. So wrapping this up, end-to-end is AI, so it's machine learning. But as I mentioned before, we have seen now the last 2-3 years that these cars, these algorithms, these systems are learning to behave like a human being, and you see it every day on the roads. It gives you, as a passenger or owner of these cars, it gives you more safety, A, B, freedom for your family. And I think moving forward, it's not me who's going to decide, or my generation, the parents in this room. It's the kids that will decide, how will we use this technology? Do I want to be driven? Do I need a driver's license? Do I want to use dad's car that I need to drive? Maybe not. So we will provide all of this technology, and you can buy it, you can use it for sure, but at the end of the day, it's our kids in the room here that's going to decide where we go. And I think it's going to be very human, and I think that's the reason why it's so successful. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Thank you.